just get full of fire sitting here on this stage with these forces for goods and looking in your eyes and knowing that you are on fire for struggle, not just for justice, but for the precious and priceless ones that Frantz Fanon called wretched of the earth, who run the world but do not yet rule the world. And we here to rule by means of empowerment based on vision and analysis, but most importantly, based on courage. Now, I want to apologize because, my God, I hate to have to leave. I got another event, but my spirit is here even when I'm not here. Why? Because Sister Nicole, Sister Samina, all of you all who've come together to create this counter voice against the lies that hide the crimes of Biden and company just across the street. And we're living in what I would call a Malcolm X moment. The chickens are coming home to roost. They're coming home to roost. You can't have a 500-and-some-year war against indigenous peoples and don't think sooner or later you're going to have to come to terms with that kind of injustice. You can't have 400 years of war against black people, enslaved people, Jim Crow people, and don't realize sooner or later the chickens will come home to roost. And we're not talking about revenge. We're talking about justice and truth. And condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak. And there's been too much suffering going on among everyday people, workers, poor people, and thinking that somehow you're not going to have to come to terms with the lies and the crimes and the mendacity and the criminality. So it is. 2022, you can no longer deny the lies. Thank God for Julian Assange and all of those who will expose the lies, expose the crime. Don't come to Los Angeles like you've been some vanguard for human rights when you look at the history of Latin America as the playground of the American empire, treating Latin American brothers and sisters as if they're cockroaches to be crushed rather than human beings with great dignity who organize and fight back. Don't come to Los Angeles acting as if you don't have crimes in the Middle East, with Saudi Arabia committing crimes right now against the Yemenis, with the Israelis committing crimes right now against the Palestinians, with crimes being committed in Asia. Don't come thinking that we're going to take your lives. And don't think that simply because we hate the injustice that we hating other folk. No. Frantz Fanon is right. And Brother David put it well in our presentation. We don't know of a national bourgeoisie that has not betrayed the working people, has not betrayed poor people. I don't care what color, what national identity, what gender, even sexuality. This is not a question of some neoliberal identity politics. We talking about justice. We talking about equality. We talk about democracy from the bottom up. That's right. That's what solidarity is all about. And I come from a black people who at our best have been a grand people, who in the face of overwhelming chronic hatred keep dishing out love warriors. That's where Malcolm X comes from. That's where Martin Luther King comes from. That's where Frederick Douglass comes from. That's where Stevie Wonder comes from. That's where Aretha Franklin comes from. That's where John Coltrane's Love Supreme comes from. How do you keep loving yourself and loving something bigger than all of this narcissism and organized greed and institutionalized hatred coming at you so you can straighten your back up with a style and a smile and still say, let's run and rule the world in the name of equality and democracy in the real sense. Not in the pseudo sense of the milquetoast neoliberals, and certainly not in the vicious sense of the escalating neo-fascists. Because we're living in a neo-fascist moment as the chickens come home to roost, not just in the American empire, but in every corner of of the globe. Brazil, India, Hungary. We can go across the board. Even in my beloved Africa, the continent, with the AFRICOM and the U.S. imperial presence, trying to lose track of poor people, working people in the name of African bourgeoisies. This is not a question of skin pigmentation. I have solidarity with my brothers and sisters because they are human beings who in their bodies come from various genders and skin pigmentation, but they choose to be freedom fighters and love warriors and wounded healers and joy spreaders. That's why we stand in solidarity. So let us continue to keep the memory of the best of those who came before. And as Martin Luther King used to say, recognize that the bombs that drop in various corners of the globe also drop in reservations and the hoods and the ghettos. That there's a globalism and an internationalism that's grounded in our localism, but in the end, just like at the end of the march that I wish I could be a part of, we're going to have a party. Because ordinary people, everyday people, always go out with a party, with swinging, with dancing, with laughing. Why? Because whatever catastrophe it is, it will never have the last word. The people will have the last word in whatever form it takes. Salute you all. Stay strong in what you're doing.